Illustrate is where users can create data-driven text and infographics to represent analytical visual constructs in different forms that go above and beyond classic charts, grids, and other data visualizations. Data-driven illustrations and infographics can be made up of a composite of multiple graphical items that can change size, shape, color, and rotation based on data extracted from analytic queries. By using these features to manipulate images, designers can convey the analytical information in a more intuitive and topic-specific way that general charts may lack. Data-driven text, like illustrations, allows designers to express analytical results and conclusions through natural language, making it often clearer for end users to understand. While data-driven text in Pyramid can be based on formulaic templates built by designers that adjust to the results of analytic queries, they can also include AI-driven insights that are auto-derived, providing a conduit to automated text analysis. Combining both capabilities, images and text, into one or more containers allows designers to deploy these alternative analytic content elements through present dashboards or publish reports as either interactive live infographics or printed illustrations, respectively. To launch Illustrate, open the module from the home page or from the App tab menu. Initially, we arrive at the new illustration interface, which includes our graphic canvas in the center where we'll add and build content. At the top, we have our Illustrate ribbons to access functions and options. Here we can set the canvas size and choose a design theme that will drive the color palettes and font options used in the session. On the left, we have a library of stock images, which we can use to start building content. We simply drag and drop the images onto our canvas. You can use your own images just by dragging them into the browser and dropping them on the canvas. You can use either SVG vector images, which are best, or PNG and JPEG raster images. On the right, we have the Properties panel where we can add, remove, and edit data-driven settings for our graphics and text. Let's start by creating a data-driven image. To start, I'll drag a stock image from the panel onto the canvas. Once we've placed the image, we need to configure its properties to connect it to a data discovery if we want it to change based on values. The underlying query drives the calculations that are used to change the appearance of the image in runtime. The dynamic properties can be configured to change the color, show or hide the image, or drive its size, rotation, or its fill volume. I'll make the color dynamic for this image, and we'll start by switching on the color property. Here we need to set the actual value that represents the current value of the image when it's used. To set the actual value, choose a grid visual and select a value from it. You can use prequel functions to create an expression or choose a value directly from the grid. Next, we'll set the values that will define the colors of the image. We start by defining the below and above values in order to drive the image color. We could enter static values so that when the actual value is smaller than the below value, the image will be rendered in red. When it's greater than the above value, the image will be rendered in green. And when it's between the below and above values, the image will be rendered in yellow. We can make this more interesting by creating dynamic expressions to drive the below and above values. This powerful feature lets you create value bands that are dynamic so that they change in response to changes in the underlying data. And now I'll use the same values for the rotation. So whenever there are changes in the data, we'll see that reflected by changes in both the color and rotation of the image. Now let's create some dynamic data-driven text. Using the statement X sales were Y, we want to make both the X and the Y dynamic. Highlight X and then click the dynamic text button. Again, we need to select a grid visual to drive the dynamic text. I'll select the label in row 0. This grid is filtered in descending order of value, so the manufacturer in this cell will always be the one with the highest sales. If the query changes, the manufacturer that's rendered in the text will always be the manufacturer with the highest sales. We can apply prequel markup functions to format this item too. Here I'll underline the manufacturer and make it bold. Now let's set the value for Y. I'll choose the same grid. We select a cell value, like so. Or we can select multiple cell values, or an entire row or column. We can apply dynamic prequel functions to return the highest or lowest value in the column. And we can apply statistical functions to return the average from this set. For our example, I'll choose the 2 sales cells for the top manufacturer. To add these 2 cells together, I'll simply apply the sum function to this selection. And I'll apply formatting to show the value in dollars with no decimals. And finally, I'll make it bold as well. Now let's see our dynamic graphic in a dashboard. We'll add these to the canvas, then using the interaction picker we can add any relevant interactions to other content items. When we view our dashboard in runtime, we see our dynamic assets in action. That brings us to the end of our overview of Illustrate, highlighting some of its core functions and capabilities. For a deeper review of these features and the many items not included in this video, check out the video tutorials section in the online help or follow our blog series on the community forum.